by Raymond Whale, 9 p.m.
Good evening. In the news tonight, we talk to Environment Minister Dr. Ahmad Mata on his decision to leave the cabinet.
In Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge gives the Royalist Party its support.
The landslide victory of the PAP in the December 1992 by-election, that is what prompted outgoing Environment Minister Dr. Ahmad Mata to finally leave cabinet. In a letter to the Prime Minister, Dr. Mata said he felt the PAP had consolidated its position. But he said he'd stay on as MP for Brickworks GRC till the next general election, and after that he'd like to leave active politics. Fielding questions in an interview, Dr. Mata spoke candidly on issues ranging from the environment to the Malay Muslim community, but uppermost on everyone's mind, his future plans.
Well, first of all, I think I had to take stock of my life, reassess my position in society, and then give deep thoughts to what my heart desires. But after careful reconsideration, my mind is made up. I don't think I'd like to go back to the academic world.
So what would you be doing?
Well, as I shall be a private citizen with effect from 1st July 1993, I would like whatever I do after 1st July to stay private.
On Mr. Abdullah Tarmuji, Dr. Mata said he's in a good position to take over the Muslim affairs portfolio.
In the first place, I've been working with Abdullah Tarmuji very closely since the 1988 general elections. And in fact, I've been slowly transferring some of my responsibilities to him. I have every confidence that he will discharge his responsibilities.
On his environment portfolio, which he'd held for the last 8.5 years, Dr. Mata said he's proud to have been part of a team that set out to achieve a clean and healthy environment for Singapore.
I hope to continue to play that role, even though I may not be physically in the Ministry of Environment.
Asked what he would miss most about leaving the cabinet, Dr. Mata had this to say.
I have always enjoyed cabinet meetings. In my early years, I benefited, as most of my other cabinet colleagues did and still do, from SM's wealth of experience and wisdom. Cabinet meetings to me then were a semblance of tutorial classes during my days in the university. And from SM, I learned a lot about the past and what the future could be.
In a letter to the Prime Minister, Dr. Mata thanked Mr. Goh Chok Tong for allowing him to relinquish his posts.
I had served Cabinet and the nation to the best of my ability, and I hope I had served them well.
The Khmer Rouge wants Cambodia's royalist Hun Sen Pek party to be given full rights as the winners of last month's polls. The faction also said it supports a proposal from senior statesman Prince Sihanouk for a provisional government. A spokesman warned of violence if the Phnom Penh government refuses to hand over power. The US dollar has plunged to a new low against the yen in Tokyo. It dropped almost a yen from New York's Monday finish to 106.24 yen before intervention by the Bank of Japan pushed the dollar to 106.33 yen. Immigration officials in Los Angeles have rounded up 20 illegal Chinese immigrants. The group from Fujian is the latest in the flood of illegal immigrants turning up in the United States.
This may have been the last time anyone could utter the word freedom without going to jail in China. The students took over Tiananmen Square. The government used tanks to take it back. Since then, the Bush administration simply let most Chinese immigrants stay in the United States. Now they, along with nearly 5 million other illegal aliens, are becoming a national problem. A new study released last week says illegal immigrants will cost Americans $58 billion a year into the next century.
The impact on illegal immigrants is very, very high in terms of the impact on the taxpayer almost immediately after their arrival.
The Immigration Service has emptied dozens of illegal Chinese ships. Boat owners go to jail, the passengers usually claim asylum, The U.S. is stuck with a bill for everything from housing to health care. The people who slip through the system are often forced to work to pay off a $20,000 to $30,000 bill for the trip here.
This is, for the lack of a better word, slave trade. They're bringing individuals into the United States instead of fish, as I said before. They're working under deplorable conditions.
Senator Al D'Amato is fighting to change the law so illegal immigrants have no incentive to come. He says President Clinton's not helping by giving China a special trade agreement.
We're sending the wrong signals to China. We're encouraging this illegal immigration by setting up this false, phony system where they say political asylum, and then they are literally given access to the country. So.
The Ukraine is reported to have agreed to the U.S. plan for nuclear warheads of the former Soviet Union to be stored in the Ukraine under international supervision. Other proposals from U.S. Defense Secretary Les Aspin, which have been welcomed, help to improve Ukrainian conventional forces and U.S. mediation in Ukrainian-Russian security disputes. But in the name of science, nuclear testing may soon begin at a site in New Mexico. Scientists say lab tests produce only half the information of an underground nuclear explosion. A decision on whether testing resumes must come from the President Clinton soon, and the Pentagon hopes the decision is yes.
Tokyo has issued a general amnesty ahead of tomorrow's wedding between Crown Prince Naruhito and Miss Masako Owada. Although not everyone in jail or those awaiting trial will come under the amnesty, almost 6,000 people will be free to celebrate the wedding. With the wedding just a few hours away, security is tight in Tokyo, especially after a suspected radical tried to attack a company executive once closely linked to the family of Japan's Empress-to-be. And among the gifts to the royal wedding couple, a floral gift from Singapore.
The Masako Kutaishi Hidenka, named after the future empress and one she chose herself. Radiant white, with a pink blush in the throat. Several sprays of 20 flowers each which blossom round the year. It took 4 years to get to this stage. From the crossing of two dendrobium hybrids, one with longer stems and coarser flowers, and the other a white one which couldn't make it for this photo shoot. In crossbreeding, to get the best of both orchids, pollen from one is put in the stigma of the other. 3 of the white dendrobium offspring were sent to Japan a month ago for Masako-san to select the one she liked best. But the plant she chose couldn't look as good tomorrow as it did then, so a sibling was sent in the meantime. The real Masako will be propagated, taking another 4 years to reach maturity. Only then will it be presented again. A painstaking process, but one fit for a princess.
Not every hybrid turns out as picture perfect as the Masako. Tomorrow, find out what happens when they don't. Singapore's highest military award, the Distinguished Service Order Military, was conferred this morning on the Indonesian Minister for Defence and Security, General Edi Sudrajat. The Darjah Utama Bhakti Cemerlang Tentera Medal was presented by President Wee Kim Wee. It's in recognition of General Edi's role in bringing about excellent ties between the two countries' armed forces and contributing to the warm relationship between Singapore and Indonesia. The citation read at the ceremony said, General Edi saw to the continuation of bilateral land, sea and air exercises that were increasingly complex. General Edi is the 3rd Indonesian to be given the Distinguished Service Order Military. He was the Commander-in-Chief of the Indonesian Armed Forces from February till May this year. Earlier, General Edi reviewed a guard of honor mounted by the Army, Navy and Air Force. He also called on Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong and Minister for Defence, Dr. Yeo Ning Hong.
And in business news still to come, Hungary's move to a market economy.
rhythm, and balance. Another sparkling performance from Nicole Opov and Rolex.
By discovering faster and more cost-effective ways to distribute almost anything to just about anyone, DHL will give you and your customers a competitive edge. DHL, keeping the lifeblood of industry moving, door to door. DHL, Express Freight.
Australia produces some of the finest dairy produce in the world. A wide range of pure, fresh Australian dairy products your whole family will enjoy for their taste as well as their natural goodness. Don't miss these delicious Australian dairy food brands in your local supermarket, brought direct from the lush green pastures of Australia.
Now served daily, Singapore's other botanical gardens, the most authentic Nyonya buffet lunch. Where else but the Waterfall Cafe at Shangri-La Hotel.
Use our user-friendly ATMs for faster banking transactions.
Opel, the official car of the 1993 SEA Games.
The senior minister who's heading an economic delegation to Hungary says he's optimistic of the country's shift towards a market economy. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has been meeting Hungarian leaders and assessing the possibility for economic cooperation between the two sides. Tamal Selvan reports from Budapest.
Last evening, the senior minister called on the Hungarian president, Mr. Arpad Göncz. The 1.5-hour meeting took place at the president's office at Parliament House. The Parliament building, the biggest structure in Hungary, is modelled after the Westminster. Built at the turn of the century, the Gothic-style building has a Baroque spatial effect. There are two chambers, but Hungary's parliamentary system is now unicameral. The present 386 National Assembly, democratically elected in 1990, sits 3 times a week. This afternoon, the Singapore delegation visited a bus factory. Icarus Autobus Company, once state-owned, has since been privatized. It manufactures some 4,000 bus bodies and chassis a year. Fitted with imported engines, the buses are sold worldwide. To reach the Asia-Pacific market, a new company, ICA Pacific, was formed last year. It's an Hungarian joint venture with Singapore and Russian partners. ICA Pacific, the marketing firm for these Icarus buses, is based in Singapore. It's a concrete example of how Hungary hopes to use Singapore as a launching pad for its products in the Asia-Pacific region. This is Tamal Selvan for SBC News from Budapest.
In our second report on globalization, we look at how the flying kangaroo, Qantas, plans to regain its competitive edge. It's all happening through a new partnership struck within the airline.
Sydney's bid to host the 2000 Olympics got a cold shower last January when about 300 baggage handlers went on strike. Olympic Council officials were among the thousands stranded in Sydney Airport. Yet another embarrassment for a country where unions have long been calling the shots, but a watershed for Qantas.
It was a case of the troops seeking to challenge the no-strike provisions of the enterprise agreement. And the good news story is that the men have all signed personal undertakings that they will abide by the dispute settlement procedure, which effectively guarantees us industrial harmony.
A hiccup for the enterprise agreement, which came into effect shortly after. It covers all unions except those of pilots which have their own agreements. The result of 12 months of negotiation, it was an agreement not to strike till the end of 1994 and to settle disputes harmoniously. Qantas says it's the start of a new work ethic and a new industrial vision, which the Australian Council of Trade Unions and the government are pushing.
It's gone from a situation in the past of confrontation to a situation of cooperation, where management and unions and staff really see a partnership. If we are going to be competitive, if we are going to survive, then we've all got to work together.
This partnership will increase productivity by 5%, enough to prevent the airline's market share from being eroded by competitors and enable it to compete strongly in the world.
In tomorrow's news, find out how the national carrier SIA spreads its wings.
Employees of precision engineering firms can now apply for a new sponsorship scheme when they undergo full-time skills training. Dr. Teng Soon, chairman of the Institute of Technical Education, gave details of the scheme by the Skills Development Fund during a visit to 3 precision companies.
The SDF will give $6,000 for training for the 2-year NTC2 course offered by ITE. It's about half the allowance trainees usually get from employers, and is also available for those on 3-year work permits.
Precision engineering is a vital industry and therefore deserves special government support. Every year, the need is about 1,500 people with skills in the precision engineering industry. Now that money will attract school leavers to go into this kind of training courses.
Dr. Tay hopes the scheme will reduce the annual shortfall in the industry, now at 200 to 300.
Tri-M Technologies, an electronics contract manufacturer, has launched its public share offering of 7.5 million shares. Of this, 4 million shares selling at US $260 are for public subscription. Tri-M is a partnership between Japanese MNCs Mitsubishi Corporation, Miyoshi Electronics Corporation, and local company Greendale Investments.
And on the market, shares in Singapore rebounded from early weakness to close mostly higher. Traders said the market remained in a broad consolidation and gains were led by a recovery in speculative Malaysian OTC shares. The Straits Times Industrial Index was 14.55 points higher at 1,870.67. Advancing issues led decliners 205 to 63, with 147 counters unchanged. IPC was the most active with 29.5 million shares traded. Other actives included Promet, Renon, NOL and QAF. UOB Foreign made the steepest gains, chalking up 60 cents. OCBC Foreign, Jurong Shipyard, ACMA and Jurong Engineering were up between 35 and 50 cents. DBS Foreign took a loss of 40 cents while Robinson's was down 20 cents. Prima, RDC and DBS were also easier. Malaysian share prices finished higher, buoyed by bargain hunting in institutional stocks and renewed speculative activity. The resurgent yen quashed hopes of a firm Tokyo stock market ahead of the imperial wedding tomorrow. Shares in Hong Kong got a sharp boost with a technical rebound that pushed the index back over the 7,200 point mark for the first time in about a week. In Sydney, weaker gold stocks pushed the index to its lowest close in 9 trading sessions. On forex markets, the US dollar plunged to blaze new historic lows against the yen in Tokyo as disappointment at the dollar's recent lukewarm rally upheld trigger technically oriented selling of the unit. The Singapore dollar rose against its US counterpart. It was also firmer against the ringgit and the Hong Kong dollar, but was softer against the pound. And in the bullion market, gold ended easier despite late short covering from Europe.
And coming up later, new life down at Clarke Quay.
Having trouble getting your computer's information when and where you want it? Turn to IBM Professional Services. We'll design a total solution that's tailored to your needs.
Take a little time and let the rest go.
IQF chicken is individually quick frozen piece by piece.
Take a little more and the rest goes back.
Cook it as you need it and keep all that Tyson goodness fresher and fresh.
Take a little Tyson and the rest goes back. So bite into the goodness of Tyson.
Right now, with Tyson IQF chicken, you can collect a quality porcelain silk or pepper shaker. Free with any 3 packs from the Tyson IQF range.
International smile of the Gulf. Gulf Air.
Carrera Sports Watches. Splash out on a Carrera watch today and we'll give you a free $50 Reebok sports voucher.
Lovely, aren't they? But you know, marketing cars in Singapore isn't easy. It means a big investment, mammoth parts inventory, an exceptional workshop, and dedicated staff. It's called commitment. A commitment to the motoring public to provide unparalleled service. Without doubt, Exclusive Auto's new multi-million-dollar premises is proof of this commitment. So come and visit Exclusive Auto and see the Renault range and facilities for yourself.
Orlando takes on a new look to usher in a new decade in menswear.
That's right. I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just won't mind. If I didn't think it was worth a try, I'd roll myself up in a big ball, and I would fly.
This year, Singapore plays host to the SEA Games for the 3rd time since its inception. Times have changed since then. 3 veterans tell us what it was like.
Followers of the SEA Games all around the region are able to get the latest results and developments of the event almost as soon as it happens with improved technology. But it wasn't always so efficient. Computerization was first introduced to the event, then known as the Southeast Asian Peninsula Games, when it was first held here in 1973.
In 1972, we made a trip to Munich, and I was impressed with the way that they had the Games computerized. It was so that, well, we could try computerizing, but then, as you know, computers were very much in infancy in those days, and what they had in Munich cost a lot of money. I think millions of Deutschmark, and we tried, and I think we did a reasonable job.
For Eng Yun, the 12th SEA Games here in 1983 held another high point, lighting up of the cauldron. Ten years on, Eng Yun will once again be holding the torch high for Singapore. Another veteran, Tan Eng Bok, feels a big change at the Games is the increase in the number of participants and types of sports. Then the number of participants numbered by the hundreds, while now it's by the thousands.
A sheer number of participants, it goes along with organization. That means, you need more finance.
Swimmer Ang Peng Siong, who held Singapore's relay team to a gold in 1983, will be competing again this year. For him, one difference of the event will be the grandeur of this year's opening and closing ceremonies.
This year, there's some resemblance of the Barcelona Olympics. And I think this really builds up the spirit of the Games. I think it really gets the people involved.
But all feel that despite the changes, friendship and sportsmanship are what really count at the Games. Kidney patients on peritoneal dialysis or CAPD can now get financial help. Needy patients can apply for a subsidy from the National Kidney Foundation. The cost of CAPD solution will also be 7.5% cheaper. Negotiations between NKF and Baxter, a medical healthcare company, have resulted in a price reduction and 5-year price freeze on CAPD solution. Lillian Buzzer reports.
The price reduction and freeze will benefit about 300 CAPD patients. They make up about a quarter of kidney patients on dialysis here. The rest of them are on hemodialysis. CAPD works by using the body's own peritoneal membrane to get rid of toxins. On average, a patient on peritoneal dialysis would have to spend $860 per month, but now would only have to spend $790 per month. And with a subsidy, needy patients would have to pay even less.
A subsidy will help them greatly, especially for patients who have been on CAPD and who have been struggling along for a very long period of time. It may encourage actually some patients who are originally on hemodialysis to switch to CAPD.
Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of passive resistance was inspired by an event that happened 100 years ago today. He was thrown off a segregated train in Pietermaritzburg, the capital of Natal province, which has since honoured him with a statue. But Gandhi's legacy also lives on in South Africa in his granddaughter.
Sita Gandhi, or Sita Tupilia by her married name, is a housewife. She leads a simple life in Durban. She's been there almost all her life, as her parents used to run the news agency set up by her grandfather, Mahatma Gandhi. But as a teenager, she spent 5 years in India with her grandfather. He was then leading the independence movement there. Since then, his philosophy has guided her life.
He's taught me a lot of things. I mean, I can see it in my own life, that I don't value material things, you know, not that I had many material things, but he taught me that the material things were the least important.
That's why Sita is contented. She now spends most of the time taking care of her grandchildren, telling them about their famous great-great-grandfather.
I think he was a very great man, and I mean, years to come there won't be anybody like that anymore. I mean, when you think of what's happening in India today, this is the time I really thought about him, that he was the one man that could have brought India together again.
By November, Clarke Quay will come alive with food, fun and lots of entertainment for visitors. Its developer says work on the Riverside Village is on schedule and some 70% of the occupancy space has been leased out. Nancy Ang reports.
There'll be over 200 shops on 21,000 square meters along the Singapore River. They are housed in 5 main blocks, named after their historical uses. At Merchants Court is high-class dining and shopping. And along the shophouse row are 5-foot ways with shops selling spicy sauces, junk and bread the traditional way. Tongkangs can also be hired for rides down the river. And it's children's world at the Foundry, a 3,000 square meter adventure land is being built with a Disneyland concept. Specialty ice cream will be sold at the Traders Market, near where the original Wampo Ice House used to stand. And over at the cannery, visitors can try freshly brewed beer while shopping for gifts and home items.
Clarke Quay will be a destination. Clarke Quay is a festival village. And it's not going to be a theme park, it's not going to be a shopping center, and it's not going to be a restaurant row. What it is actually is parts of all of those things. So what happens is there's enough critical mass of each one of those 3 areas to attract people to come on repeat visits.
And tomorrow's weather, a fair day at home. Temperatures between 26 and 35 degrees. Fair too in KL, but showers in the rest of ASEAN. And mostly rain in Northeast Asia.
And that's all for this evening.
Join us tomorrow and catch Japan's royal wedding.
Good night.
Good night.